The storm inside her was as great as the one happening outside, until God said, "Peace be still to your soul." Ariana sat in her car in the parking lot of the grocery store, hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles had turned white. Her heart was pounding, racing, hammering against her ribcage like it was trying to escape. Her breath came in short, shallow gasps. She couldn't get enough air. No matter how hard she tried to breathe, it felt like she was suffocating. The world around her was spinning. The cars in the parking lot blurred together. The sounds became muffled, distant, like she was underwater. Her vision narrowed to a tunnel. Everything was closing in. "I'm dying," she thought. "I'm having a heart attack. I'm dying right here in this parking lot." She fumbled for her phone with trembling hands, tried to dial 911, but her fingers wouldn't cooperate. They shook too much. She dropped the phone. It clattered to the floor of the car. She leaned forward, pressing her forehead against the steering wheel, trying to breathe, trying to calm down, trying to make it stop. But it wouldn't stop. The panic kept rising. The fear kept growing. The terror kept consuming her. "What's wrong with me? Why is this happening? Make it stop. Please, God, make it stop." But it didn't stop. It never stopped. This was the third panic attack this week, the seventh this month. They were getting worse, more frequent, more intense, more terrifying. Ariana didn't know how much more she could take. She was exhausted, physically, emotionally, mentally. The constant fear was draining the life out of her. She couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't function. She was barely surviving, and she had no idea how to make it stop. After what felt like hours but was probably only 10 minutes, the panic began to subside, slowly, gradually. Her heart rate decreased, her breathing steadied, the tunnel vision cleared, the world came back into focus. She sat up, wiping the tears from her face, picked up her phone from the floor, looked at the grocery store entrance. She had come here to buy milk and bread. Simple, easy. But she couldn't do it. Couldn't make herself get out of the car. Couldn't face the crowds, the noise, the overwhelming sensory input. She put the car in reverse and drove home. Without the milk, without the bread, without anything except the crushing weight of failure and fear. When she got home, she sat in her driveway for another 20 minutes, trying to gather the strength to go inside, trying to put on the mask that said everything was fine, the mask that hid the storm raging inside her, because no one knew that Ariana was drowning, that she was being consumed by anxiety so severe she could barely function, that she was living in a constant state of terror, waiting for the next panic attack, the next wave of fear, the next moment when her body would betray her and convince her she was dying. She had become an expert at hiding it, at pretending, at smiling when she wanted to scream, at saying "I'm fine" when she was anything but fine. But inside, the storm raged on, relentless, merciless, overwhelming, and Ariana didn't know how much longer she could keep her head above water. What she didn't know, what she couldn't see in that moment, was that God was about to speak to her storm. Just like he had spoken to the storm on the Sea of Galilee 2,000 years ago, he was about to say the words that would change everything. Peace, be still, not just to the circumstances around her, but to the storm within her. 1 year earlier, Ariana had been a different person, not carefree exactly, but functional, normal. She worked as a high school English teacher, had a small circle of close friends, went to church on Sundays, had hobbies, read books, went for walks, lived a relatively peaceful life. She had always been a worrier. Even as a child, she worried about things. What if something bad happens? What if I fail? What if people don't like me? Her mother used to call her my little worrywart, but it was manageable, normal. Everyone worries sometimes, right? But over the past year, something had changed. The worry had morphed into something darker, something more consuming, something that had taken over her entire life. It started small, a tightness in her chest when she had to speak in front of her class, a flutter of nervousness before a parent-teacher conference, a sense of unease when she had to drive on the highway. She brushed it off. Everyone gets nervous. It's normal, it'll pass. But it didn't pass. It grew. The tightness in her chest became a constant companion. The nervousness became dread. The unease became terror. She started avoiding things. Highways, crowds, social situations, anything that triggered the anxiety. At first it was easy to justify. I'm just tired. I need a quiet night at home. I'm not feeling well. But the list of things she avoided kept growing, and the anxiety kept intensifying. Then came the first panic attack. She was at the grocery store, standing in the checkout line. Suddenly, out of nowhere, her heart started racing, her vision blurred. She couldn't breathe. She thought she was having a heart attack. She abandoned her cart and ran to her car, sat there terrified, convinced she was dying. Eventually, it passed. She drove home, shaken, confused, scared. She went to the doctor the next day. They ran tests, EKG, blood work, everything, all normal, perfectly healthy. The doctor said, "It sounds like you had a panic attack." A panic attack? But I wasn't panicking about anything, it just happened. The doctor explained that panic attacks can happen without an obvious trigger, that they're caused by the body's fight or flight response going into overdrive, that they're not dangerous, even though they feel terrifying. He prescribed medication, anti-anxiety medication. Ariana stared at the prescription. She didn't want to take medication. She wasn't that kind of person. She could handle this on her own. She threw the prescription away. That was a mistake. Over the next few months, the panic attacks became more frequent. Once a week, then twice a week, then almost daily. They could happen anywhere, anytime, without warning. She would be driving and suddenly feel her heart race. She would be at work and suddenly feel like she couldn't breathe. She would be at home, safe in her own house, and suddenly be consumed by terror. The anticipatory anxiety was almost worse than the attacks themselves. She lived in constant fear of the next one. When will it happen? Where will I be? Will I be able to get somewhere safe? What if it happens while I'm teaching? What if it happens while I'm driving? What if? She stopped going places, stopped seeing friends, stopped doing things she enjoyed. Her world shrank smaller and smaller until it consisted of her house, her car, and her classroom. And even those places didn't feel safe anymore. She started calling in sick to work. At first, occasionally, then more frequently. She would wake up in the morning, feel the anxiety rising, and know she couldn't face the day. Couldn't face the students, the noise, the demands, the possibility of having a panic attack in front of everyone. Her principal called her in for a meeting. "Ariana, we're concerned about your attendance. Is everything okay?" She forced a smile. "Yes, I've just been dealing with some health issues, but I'm working on it. Do you need to take a leave of absence?" No, I'll be fine." But she wasn't fine. She was falling apart, and she didn't know how to stop it. She tried everything she could think of: deep breathing exercises, meditation, yoga, herbal supplements, self-help books, YouTube videos about managing anxiety. Nothing worked, or if it worked, it only worked temporarily. The anxiety always came back, stronger, more intense, more consuming. She stopped sleeping. She would lie awake at night, her mind racing with worst-case scenarios. What if I lose my job? What if I can't pay my bills? What if I end up alone? What if this never gets better? What if I'm broken forever? The exhaustion made everything worse. She was too tired to cope, too tired to fight, too tired to function. She stopped eating properly. Food had no taste. Her stomach was always in knots. She lost weight. Her clothes hung loose on her frame. People started commenting, "Are you okay? You look so thin." "I'm fine, just stressed." But she wasn't fine. She was wasting away, physically, emotionally, spiritually. She stopped going to church. She couldn't handle the crowds, couldn't handle the questions, couldn't handle pretending to be okay when she was drowning. She stopped praying, or rather, her prayers became desperate pleas. God, make it stop. Please make it stop. I can't do this anymore. I can't live like this. Please help me. But God seemed silent. The anxiety continued. The panic attacks continued. The fear continued. Where are you, God? Why won't you help me? Why won't you take this away? She started having dark thoughts, thoughts that scared her. What if I just ended it? What if I just stopped fighting? Would that be easier? Would that be better? She didn't want to die. Not really. But she didn't want to live like this either. She was trapped in a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. One night, after a particularly bad panic attack, she sat on her bathroom floor and cried. Deep, gut-wrenching sobs that came from a place of complete despair. God, I don't understand. Why is this happening to me? What did I do wrong? Why won't you fix me? The silence was deafening. She pulled herself up, looked in the mirror, and barely recognized the person staring back at her. Hollow eyes, gaunt face, defeated posture. This wasn't her. This wasn't who she was supposed to be. But she didn't know how to get back to herself. Didn't know how to escape this prison of fear. Didn't know how to silence the storm raging inside her. The breaking point came on a Tuesday morning. Ariana woke up and immediately felt the anxiety. It was there, waiting for her, like a predator ready to pounce. Her heart was already racing before she even got out of bed. She called in sick to work. Again, she couldn't do it, couldn't face another day of pretending to be okay. She spent the morning in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the panic rise and fall in waves. By noon, she knew she needed help, real help, professional help. She picked up her phone and searched for therapists, found one who specialized in anxiety disorders, called and made an appointment for the next day. That night, she barely slept. She was terrified of going to therapy. What if they think I'm crazy? What if they can't help me? What if I'm beyond help? But she was more terrified of continuing to live like this. The next day, she sat in the therapist's office, hands trembling, trying to explain what she was experiencing. I have panic attacks all the time. I can't control them. I can't stop them. I'm afraid all the time. Afraid of everything. I can't function anymore. I don't know what's wrong with me. The therapist, a kind woman in her 50s named Dr. Sarah Martinez, listened without judgment. Ariana, what you're experiencing is called generalized anxiety disorder with panic attacks. It's a real medical condition. It's not your fault. It's not a weakness. It's not something you can just get over. But it is treatable. Ariana felt tears streaming down her face. I thought I was going crazy. You're not going crazy. Your brain's alarm system is overactive. It's sending danger signals when there's no real danger, but we can work on retraining it. They talked for an hour. Dr. Martinez explained how anxiety works, how the body's fight or flight response can get stuck in the on position, how panic attacks, while terrifying, are not dangerous, how avoidance makes anxiety worse, not better. She recommended a combination of therapy and medication. I know medication can feel scary, but for severe anxiety like yours, it can be really helpful. It's not a crutch, it's a tool, like glasses for someone who can't see clearly. Ariana hesitated. She had resisted medication for so long, but she was desperate. She couldn't keep living like this. Okay, I'll try it. Dr. Martinez wrote a prescription and scheduled weekly therapy sessions. This is going to take time, Ariana. There's no quick fix, but you will get better. I promise you, you will get better. Ariana left the office feeling a tiny spark of hope. For the first time in months, she felt like maybe, just maybe, there was a way out of this nightmare. She started the medication that night. The doctor had warned her it would take a few weeks to work, that she might feel worse before she felt better, that she needed to be patient. The first week was hard. The medication made her nauseous, gave her headaches, made her feel foggy and disconnected. She almost quit, but Dr. Martinez encouraged her to stick with it. Your body is adjusting. Give it time. She also started doing the exercises Dr. Martinez had taught her. Cognitive behavioral therapy techniques, challenging her anxious thoughts, facing her fears gradually instead of avoiding them. It was exhausting. Every day was a battle, but slowly, gradually, she started to notice small changes. The panic attacks became less frequent. Instead of daily, they were every few days, then once a week, then once every 2 weeks. The constant anxiety didn't disappear, but it became more manageable. Instead of a 10 out of 10, it was a 7, then a 5, then a 3. She started sleeping better, eating better, functioning better. After 2 months of therapy and medication, Ariana had her first panic attack-free week in over a year. She cried when she realized it, cried from relief, from gratitude, from hope. But there was still something missing. The medication and therapy were helping her manage the symptoms, but they weren't addressing the deeper issue, the spiritual issue. She had been so focused on fixing herself that she had forgotten to turn to God. Or rather, she had turned to God, but only to beg him to take the anxiety away. She hadn't actually trusted him with it, hadn't surrendered it to him, hadn't let him speak peace to her storm. One Sunday morning, after months of avoiding church, Ariana decided to go back. She was nervous, terrified actually, but Dr. Martinez had been teaching her about facing her fears instead of avoiding them. She sat in the back row, ready to leave if she needed to. The worship music started. She closed her eyes and tried to focus on the words instead of her racing heart. Then the pastor began his sermon, and Ariana felt like he was speaking directly to her. Today, we're going to talk about Jesus calming the storm. Turn with me to Mark chapter 4. Ariana opened her Bible app and followed along. That day, when evening came, he said to his disciples, "Let us go over to the other side." Leaving the crowd behind, they took him along, just as he was, in the boat. There were also other boats with him. A furious squall came up, and the waves broke over the boat so that it was nearly swamped. Ariana read the words, feeling them resonate deep in her soul. A furious squall, waves breaking over the boat, nearly swamped. That's exactly how she felt, like she was in a boat being overwhelmed by waves, like she was about to go under. The pastor continued. The disciples were terrified. They were experienced fishermen. They knew how dangerous this storm was. They thought they were going to die. Ariana understood that terror, that certainty that something terrible was about to happen, that feeling of impending doom that accompanied every panic attack. But look at what Jesus was doing. Verse 38 says, Jesus was in the stern sleeping on a cushion, sleeping, while the storm raged around him, while the disciples panicked, while the boat filled with water. He was sleeping. The pastor's voice grew more intense. Why was Jesus sleeping? Because he wasn't afraid. He knew that the storm couldn't destroy them. He had authority over the storm. He was at peace, even in the chaos. Ariana felt tears streaming down her face. Jesus was at peace in the storm. Not after the storm, not before the storm, in the storm. The disciples woke him and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care if we drown?" He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind died down, and it was completely calm. Quiet, be still. 3 words. That's all it took. 3 words from Jesus, and the storm stopped, completely, immediately. The pastor continued. Jesus then asked them a question. Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? Ariana felt those words pierce her heart. Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? She had been so consumed by fear, so focused on the storm, so convinced she was going to drown, that she had forgotten. Jesus was in the boat with her. The storm inside her felt overwhelming, but Jesus had authority over that storm too. He could speak peace to her anxious heart, just like he spoke peace to the waves. But she had to let him. She had to trust him. She had to have faith that he was more powerful than her anxiety. After the service, Ariana sat in her car and prayed, not a desperate begging prayer, but a prayer of surrender. Jesus, I've been trying to calm this storm on my own. I've been trying to fix myself. I've been trying to control my anxiety, but I can't. I can't calm this storm, but you can. So I'm asking you, speak to my storm. Speak peace to my anxious heart. Quiet the waves inside me. Be still, my soul. I trust you. I trust that you have authority over this. I trust that you can calm what I cannot. She sat in silence for a long time, and slowly, gradually, she felt something shift. Not the anxiety disappearing completely, but a sense of peace underneath it. A deep, abiding peace that wasn't dependent on her circumstances or her feelings. It was the peace of knowing that Jesus was in the boat with her, that she wasn't facing this storm alone, that he had authority over it, that he could speak, and it would obey. Over the next few weeks, Ariana continued with therapy and medication, but she also added something else. Every morning, she would read the story of Jesus calming the storm, and she would pray, Jesus, speak peace to my storm today. Some days were better than others. Some days the anxiety was barely noticeable. Other days it roared like a lion. But even on the hard days, she had that underlying peace, that knowledge that Jesus was with her, that he had authority over her storm. She started journaling, writing down her anxious thoughts, and then challenging them with truth. What if I have a panic attack? Jesus is with me. What if something bad happens? Jesus has authority over it. What if I can't handle this? Jesus will give me strength. She also started memorizing scripture, verses about peace, about fear, about God's presence. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Philippians 4:6-7. When anxiety was great within me, your consolation brought me joy. Psalm 94:19. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid. John 14:27. She wrote these verses on index cards and put them everywhere. On her bathroom mirror, on her car dashboard, on her desk at work. Whenever the anxiety rose, she would read them. Remind herself of the truth. Remind herself that Jesus had authority over her storm. 3 months after that Sunday service, Ariana had her first completely anxiety-free day. She woke up and realized she felt calm, peaceful, normal. She went through her entire day without a single panic attack, without overwhelming anxiety, without fear. She cried that night, cried from gratitude, from relief, from joy. God had done it. He had spoken peace to her storm, not all at once, not instantly, but gradually, faithfully. He had calmed the waves inside her. 6 months later, Ariana was a different person. Not because the anxiety was completely gone. It wasn't. She still had hard days, still had moments of panic, still struggled sometimes, but she had learned how to navigate the storms. She had learned that Jesus was in the boat with her. She had learned that he had authority over her anxiety. She had learned to trust him, even when the waves were high. She also learned something else. Her struggle with anxiety wasn't a weakness. It wasn't a failure. It wasn't something to be ashamed of. It was part of her story, part of her testimony, part of how God was shaping her. She started sharing her story, first with close friends, then with her small group at church, then with anyone who would listen. I struggled with severe anxiety. Panic attacks, fear that paralyzed me. I thought I was broken. I thought I was beyond help, but God taught me something. He taught me that He has authority over the storms inside us, just like He had authority over the storm on the Sea of Galilee. He can speak peace to our anxious hearts. He can calm the waves inside us. We just have to trust Him. People started coming to her. People who were struggling with anxiety. People who felt broken. People who were drowning in fear. And Ariana would tell them her story, would tell them about Jesus calming the storm, would tell them that there was hope, that they weren't alone, that Jesus was in the boat with them. 1 year after that panic attack in the grocery store parking lot, Ariana stood in front of her church and gave her testimony. "A year ago, I was drowning in anxiety so severe I couldn't function. I had panic attacks almost daily. I couldn't work, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I was barely surviving. I thought I was broken beyond repair. I thought God had abandoned me. I thought I would live in fear for the rest of my life." She paused, looking out at the congregation. So many faces, so many people who were probably struggling with their own storms. But God taught me something. He taught me that He doesn't always calm the storm around us. Sometimes He calms the storm within us. Sometimes He speaks peace to our anxious hearts while the circumstances are still chaotic. Sometimes He says, "The peace, be still," not to the waves, but to our souls. She held up her Bible and read from Mark 4. He got up, rebuked the wind, and said to the waves, "Quiet, be still." That's what Jesus did for the disciples, and that's what He did for me. He spoke to my storm. He spoke peace to my anxious heart. He calmed the waves inside me. Tears streamed down her face, but her voice was strong. If you're struggling with anxiety today, I want you to know something. You're not broken, you're not weak, you're not a failure. You're in a storm, and storms are scary, but Jesus is in the boat with you. He has authority over your storm. He can speak, and it will obey. You just have to trust Him. You have to let Him speak peace to your soul. The church was silent. People were crying because so many of them knew exactly what she was talking about. So many of them were fighting their own battles with anxiety, with fear, with panic. After the service, dozens of people came up to her. "Thank you for sharing. I needed to hear that. I'm struggling too. I thought I was the only one. Your story gave me hope." One woman, probably in her 30s, grabbed Ariana's hand. "I've been having panic attacks for 6 months. I thought I was going crazy. I thought God was punishing me. But hearing your story, I realize I'm not alone. And there's hope." Ariana hugged her. There is hope. So much hope. Jesus can calm your storm too. I promise. Ariana started a support group at her church for people struggling with anxiety. They met every Wednesday night. It started with just 5 people. Within 3 months, it had grown to over 30. Every week, they would share their struggles, their fears, their victories. And every week, Ariana would remind them of the truth. Jesus has authority over your storm. He can speak peace to your anxious heart. You are not alone. They would pray together, read scripture together, encourage each other, hold each other accountable to not give up, to keep fighting, to keep trusting. Ariana also partnered with Dr. Martinez to provide resources, information about therapy, about medication, about coping skills, because she had learned that faith and medicine weren't opposed to each other. God could work through both. God gave us brains, she would tell the group, and He gave some people the knowledge to create medications that help our brains function better. Using medication isn't a lack of faith. It's using the tools God has provided. She also started speaking at other churches, sharing her testimony, teaching about anxiety from a Christian perspective, helping people understand that mental health struggles aren't spiritual failures. Jesus had compassion on people who were suffering, she would say. He didn't tell them to just have more faith. He met them where they were. He healed them. He helped them. And He does the same for us today. 2 years after that panic attack in the parking lot, Ariana wrote a book. She called it Peace Be Still, Finding God in the Storm of Anxiety. It was her story, but it was also a practical guide for others struggling with anxiety. She wrote about the biology of anxiety, about how the brain works, about why panic attacks happen, but she also wrote about the spiritual side, about trusting God, about finding peace in the midst of chaos, about letting Jesus speak to your storm. The book was published by a small Christian publisher. Ariana didn't expect much. Maybe a few hundred people would read it. Maybe it would help someone. But within 6 months, it had sold over 50,000 copies. She started getting emails, letters, messages on social media from people all over the country, all over the world, who were reading her book and finding hope. Your book saved my life. I thought I was the only one struggling like this. You put into words what I couldn't explain. Thank you for being honest about your struggle. Ariana was overwhelmed, humbled, grateful. God had taken her deepest pain and turned it into purpose, had taken her darkest struggle and used it to bring light to others. She started doing interviews, podcasts, speaking engagements. Everywhere she went, she shared the same message. You are not alone. Your struggle is real, but Jesus has authority over your storm. He can speak peace to your anxious heart. 3 years after that panic attack in the parking lot, Ariana received a letter that made her cry. It was from a teenage girl named Emma. Dear Ariana, I'm 15 years old, and I've been struggling with anxiety for 2 years. I've had panic attacks at school. I've missed so many days because I was too scared to go. I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought I was crazy. My parents didn't understand. My friends didn't understand. I felt so alone. Then my youth pastor gave me your book. I read it in 2 days, and for the first time I didn't feel alone. For the first time I understood what was happening to me. For the first time I had hope. I started going to therapy. I started taking medication. I started praying the way you taught in your book, and things are getting better. I still have hard days, but I'm not drowning anymore. I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for being brave enough to share your story. Thank you for showing me that I'm not broken. Thank you for teaching me that Jesus can calm my storm too. Because of you, I have hope. Because of you, I'm still here. Love, Emma. Ariana read the letter over and over, tears streaming down her face. This was why. This was why she had gone through it all, so that Emma wouldn't feel alone, so that Emma would have hope, so that Emma would know that Jesus could calm her storm too. She wrote back to Emma, encouraged her, prayed for her, and added her letter to a growing file of letters from people whose lives had been touched by her story. 4 years after that panic attack in the parking lot, Ariana stood on a stage at a large conference. Over 5,000 people in the audience. She was one of the keynote speakers. She looked out at the sea of faces and felt a moment of anxiety. Her heart rate increased. Her palms got sweaty. The old familiar feeling of panic started to rise. But this time, she knew what to do. She closed her eyes and prayed silently, Jesus, speak peace to my storm. Quiet, be still. And immediately she felt the peace, that deep, abiding peace that transcended her circumstances, that peace that came from knowing Jesus was with her, that he had authority over her anxiety. She opened her eyes, smiled, and began to speak. 4 years ago, I had a panic attack in a grocery store parking lot. I thought I was dying. I thought I was going crazy. I thought my life was over. But God had other plans. He used that panic attack and the months of struggle that followed to teach me something profound. He taught me that he has authority over the storms inside us. He taught me that he can speak peace to our anxious hearts. He taught me that we are never alone, even in our darkest moments. She shared her story, the panic attacks, the fear, the desperation, the therapy, the medication, the moment she read about Jesus calming the storm, the gradual healing, the ongoing journey. I still struggle with anxiety sometimes, she said honestly. I probably always will. But it doesn't control me anymore. It doesn't define me. It doesn't paralyze me. Because I've learned to trust the one who has authority over it. I've learned to let Jesus speak peace to my storm. She closed with a challenge. If you're struggling with anxiety today, I want you to know something. You are not alone. Your struggle is real. It's not a lack of faith. It's not a spiritual failure. It's a storm, and storms are scary. But Jesus is in the boat with you. He sees you, he knows you, he loves you, and he has authority over your storm. So I want to invite you to do something. Right now, in this moment, invite Jesus to speak to your storm. Pray with me. Jesus, I'm in a storm. I'm scared, I'm overwhelmed, I'm drowning. But I know you have authority over this storm. So I'm asking you, speak peace to my anxious heart. Quiet the waves inside me. Be still, my soul, I trust you. Amen. 5,000 people prayed that prayer, and Ariana knew that for many of them, this was the beginning of their healing journey, just like it had been for her 4 years ago. After the conference, hundreds of people came up to her, sharing their stories, thanking her, asking for prayer, asking for advice. And Ariana listened, prayed, encouraged, because she remembered what it felt like to be drowning, to feel alone, to feel hopeless. And she wanted everyone to know that there was hope, that Jesus could calm their storms too. 5 years after that panic attack in the parking lot, Ariana sat in her favorite coffee shop working on her second book. This one was about finding purpose in pain, about how God uses our struggles to shape us and to help others. She looked back on the past 5 years with gratitude. Yes, the anxiety had been terrible. Yes, she had suffered. Yes, there had been dark days when she didn't think she would make it. But God had been faithful. He had walked with her through the storm. He had spoken peace to her anxious heart. He had healed her not all at once, but gradually, faithfully, completely. And he had used her story to help thousands of others, people who were drowning in their own storms, people who needed to know they weren't alone, people who needed to hear that Jesus had authority over their anxiety. She wrote in her journal, 5 years ago, I was drowning in a storm of anxiety. I thought I was broken. I thought I was beyond help. I thought I would live in fear forever. But God had other plans. He taught me that He has authority over the storms inside us. He taught me that He can speak peace to our anxious hearts. He taught me that healing is a journey, not a destination. I still have hard days, days when the anxiety rises, days when the old fears creep in. But I'm not drowning anymore, because I've learned to trust the one who calms the storms. I've learned to hear His voice saying, "Peace, be still." And I've learned that my struggle wasn't wasted. It was preparation. Preparation to help others who are drowning in their own storms. Preparation to be a voice of hope in the darkness. Preparation to show others that Jesus is in the boat with them, that He sees them, that He loves them, that He has authority over their storms. And that's worth it. All the pain, all the fear, all the struggle. It's worth it if it helps even one person find hope. If it helps even one person hear Jesus say, "Peace, be still." If it helps even one person trust that they're not alone in their storm. She closed her journal and looked out the window. It was raining. A storm was rolling in, dark clouds, thunder, lightning. But Ariana wasn't afraid. She watched the storm with a sense of peace, because she knew something now that she hadn't known 5 years ago. Storms come. They're part of life, but they don't last forever. And more importantly, we're never alone in them. Jesus is in the boat with us. He has authority over every storm, external and internal, physical and emotional, circumstantial and mental. And when we cry out to Him, when we trust Him, when we surrender to Him, He speaks. He says those 3 powerful words, peace, be still. Not just to the waves around us, but to the waves within us, to our anxious hearts, to our fearful minds, to our troubled souls. Peace, be still. And when he speaks, the storm obeys, maybe not immediately, maybe not all at once, but gradually, faithfully, completely. The storm calms, the waves settle, the wind dies down, and we find ourselves in a place of peace. Not because the circumstances have changed, but because Jesus has spoken. Peace, be still. 10 years after that panic attack in the parking lot, Ariana stood in her church and looked out at the congregation. So much had changed in a decade. She was now the director of mental health ministry at her church. She had written 3 books. She spoke at conferences around the world. She had helped thousands of people find hope in their struggles with anxiety. But more than any of that, she had found peace. Deep, abiding, supernatural peace. The kind of peace that Jesus promised. The kind of peace that transcends understanding. The kind of peace that guards hearts and minds. She still had anxiety sometimes, probably always would, but it didn't control her, didn't define her, didn't paralyze her, because she had learned the secret that had changed everything. Jesus has authority over the storms, all of them, including the ones inside us. And when we trust him, when we surrender to him, when we invite him to speak to our storms, he does. He says those 3 powerful words that change everything. Peace, be still. And the storm, no matter how fierce, no matter how overwhelming, no matter how terrifying, obeys, because Jesus is Lord. Lord of the wind, Lord of the waves, Lord of the storms, Lord of our anxiety, Lord of our fear, Lord of our panic. And when the Lord speaks, everything must obey, even the storm inside you. Peace, be still. Faça exatamente conforme foi feito com o tema anterior. Utilizando essa estrutura, não se esqueça que o roteiro precisa ser de roteiro completo de no mínimo 500 palavras. 5. Tema: quando a cura não vem rápido. Paralelo bíblico. A mulher do fluxo de sangue. Marcos 5. Problema do cotidiano. Problemas de saúde prolongados. Abandono. Dor silenciosa. Hook do vídeo. Há dores que ninguém vê. E foi exatamente essa dor escondida que Deus escolheu curar primeiro. Sinopse: Ariana sofre meses com um diagnóstico difícil. Enfrenta desprezo, falta de apoio e cansaço emocional até experimentar um toque de fé transformador. Mental triggers, empatia, conexão, libertação emocional. When healing doesn't come quickly. Ariana's story. There are pains that no one sees. And it was exactly this hidden pain that God chose to heal first. Ariana sat in the doctor's office, hands folded in her lap, trying to keep them from trembling. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting a harsh, clinical glow over everything. The walls were covered with anatomical charts and motivational posters about healthy living. The irony wasn't lost on her. Dr. Harrison sat across from her, looking at the test results on his computer screen. His face was carefully neutral, the kind of neutral that doctors practice when they're about to deliver bad news. Ariana had seen that expression before, too many times before. Ariana, he began, his voice gentle but professional. The latest tests show that the condition hasn't improved. In fact, it's progressed slightly. Ariana felt her stomach drop. She had been so hopeful this time. The new treatment was supposed to work. The specialist had been optimistic. She had prayed. She had believed. She had hoped. What does that mean? She asked, though she already knew the answer. It means we need to try a different approach. I'm going to refer you to another specialist. We'll explore some other treatment options. But I need you to understand, Ariana, this is a chronic condition. There may not be a cure. We may only be able to manage the symptoms. Chronic, no cure, manage the symptoms. The words echoed in her mind like a death sentence. This was her life now. This pain, this exhaustion, this constant struggle. Forever. How long? She whispered. I can't give you a timeline. Every case is different. Some people respond well to treatment, others... He trailed off, leaving the sentence unfinished. Others suffer for years. Others never get better. Others learn to live with the pain. Ariana nodded mechanically, not trusting herself to speak. She took the referral slip he handed her, scheduled a follow-up appointment she wasn't sure she would keep, and walked out of the office in a daze. In the parking lot, she sat in her car and stared at nothing. 12 years. 12 years she had been dealing with this. 12 years of doctors and tests and treatments and hope and disappointment. 12 years of pain that no one could see. 12 years of suffering that no one understood. 12 years of bleeding. Not the kind of bleeding that people could see. Not the kind that left visible wounds. But bleeding nonetheless. Internal, constant, exhausting, debilitating. 12 years of her life stolen by an invisible illness that doctors couldn't cure, that friends didn't understand, that family had stopped asking about because they were tired of hearing that she still wasn't better. 12 years of being told to just push through, to think positive, to try harder, to have more faith, to stop complaining, to be grateful it wasn't worse. 12 years of feeling like she was drowning while everyone around her went on with their normal lives, oblivious to her silent suffering. God, she prayed silently, staring through the windshield at the grey sky. How much longer? How much more can I take? When will you heal me? When will this end? But the sky remained grey and silent, and Ariana felt more alone than she had ever felt in her life. What she didn't know, what she couldn't see in that moment of despair, was that God had seen every single day of her 12-year suffering. He had counted every tear. He had heard every prayer. He had felt every moment of her pain, and he was about to do something, not in the way she expected, not in the timing she wanted, but in the way that would heal not just her body, but her soul, because there are pains that no one sees. Hidden pains, silent pains, pains that people suffer alone because no one else understands. And it was exactly this hidden pain that God chose to heal first. 12 years earlier, Ariana had been a completely different person. She was 26 years old, newly married, working as a graphic designer at a small advertising agency. Life was good. She was healthy, energetic, full of dreams and plans for the future. She and her husband James had just bought their first house. A small 2-bedroom bungalow in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it was theirs. They spent weekends painting walls and planting flowers in the garden. They talked about having children someday, about growing old together, about all the adventures they would have. Ariana had always been healthy. She rarely got sick. She had energy to spare. She worked full-time, went to the gym 3 times a week, volunteered at church, maintained friendships, kept a clean house. She was one of those people who seemed to have it all together. And then, one day, everything changed. It started with fatigue. She woke up tired, went to bed exhausted. No amount of sleep seemed to help. She brushed it off at first. She was working long hours. She was stressed. She just needed to rest more, but the fatigue didn't go away. It got worse. She started having trouble concentrating at work, started forgetting things, started feeling like she was moving through fog. Then came the pain, a deep, aching pain in her abdomen, constant, unrelenting. Some days it was a dull throb. Other days it was sharp and stabbing, taking her breath away. She went to her doctor. He ran some tests. Everything came back normal. "It's probably just stress," he said. "Try to relax more, get more sleep, exercise." But Ariana was already doing all of that, and nothing helped. The bleeding started a few weeks later, not normal menstrual bleeding, something different, heavier, more frequent, unpredictable. She went back to the doctor, more tests, still normal. "Some women just have heavier periods," he said. "It's not uncommon. We can try birth control to regulate it." She tried the birth control. It didn't help. The bleeding continued. The pain continued. The fatigue continued. She went to another doctor, and another, and another. She had ultrasounds, blood tests, biopsies, scans. She saw gynecologists, endocrinologists, hematologists, rheumatologists. She tried different medications, different treatments, different therapies. Nothing worked. Some doctors said it was endometriosis. Others said it wasn't. Some said it was a hormonal imbalance. Others said her hormones were fine. Some said it was all in her head. Others said it was definitely physical. No one could agree on a diagnosis. No one could find a cure. No one could even make the symptoms better. Meanwhile, her life was falling apart. She had to cut back her hours at work because she was too exhausted to function full-time. Her boss was understanding at first, but as the months dragged on, his patience wore thin. "We need someone who can be here consistently," he finally said. "I'm sorry, Ariana, but we're going to have to let you go." She lost her job, lost her income, lost her sense of purpose and identity. Her friendships began to deteriorate. At first, people were sympathetic. They brought meals. They called to check on her. They offered to help. But as the months turned into years and she still wasn't better, people stopped calling, stopped visiting, stopped asking how she was doing. "You're still not better?" they would say with a mixture of disbelief and annoyance, as if her continued illness was somehow an inconvenience to them. She stopped getting invited to things, stopped being included in plans, because she was unreliable. She never knew from one day to the next if she would feel well enough to go out. She had cancelled too many times, disappointed too many people, so people stopped inviting her. And Ariana found herself increasingly isolated, alone with her pain and her exhaustion and her bleeding that no one could see or understand. Her marriage began to suffer. James tried to be supportive. He really did. But he didn't understand. How could he? He couldn't see the pain, couldn't feel the exhaustion, couldn't comprehend what it was like to live in a body that was constantly failing. "Maybe you're not trying hard enough," he said one day after she had spent the entire weekend in bed. "Maybe if you just pushed yourself a little more, you'd feel better." Ariana stared at him, hurt and anger warring inside her. "You think I'm not trying? You think I want to live like this?" "I didn't say that. I just think maybe you're giving into it too much. Maybe you need to fight harder. Fight harder." As if she wasn't already fighting with everything she had. As if getting out of bed every morning wasn't a battle. As if making it through each day wasn't an act of sheer willpower. She stopped trying to explain it to him. What was the point? He didn't get it. No one got it. The intimacy in their marriage disappeared. How could it not? She was always in pain, always exhausted, always bleeding. She felt broken, damaged, unattractive, undesirable. James grew distant, frustrated, resentful. He had married a healthy, vibrant woman. Now he was living with someone who was always sick, always tired, always suffering. "I miss the old you," he said one night. "I miss the old me too," she whispered back. But the old her was gone, and she didn't know if she would ever get her back. By the third year of her illness, Ariana had spent over $50,000 on medical bills. They had gone through their savings, maxed out credit cards, taken out loans, all for tests and treatments that didn't work. She felt guilty, guilty for being sick, guilty for costing so much money, guilty for being a burden. "Maybe we should just stop," she told James one night. "Stop trying to find a cure. Stop spending money we don't have. Just accept that this is my life now." "Don't talk like that," he said, but his voice lacked conviction. She could see the exhaustion in his eyes. He was tired too. Tired of the medical appointments. Tired of the bills. Tired of the disappointment. Tired of her. By the 5th year, Ariana had stopped going to doctors. What was the point? They couldn't help her. They just took her money and gave her false hope. She learned to manage the symptoms as best she could. She took over-the-counter pain medication, even though it barely touched the pain. She wore dark clothes to hide the bleeding. She scheduled her life around her bad days, which were becoming more frequent than her good days. She became an expert at hiding her suffering, at putting on a brave face, at pretending she was fine when she was anything but. "How are you?" people would ask. "I'm good," she would lie, because no one really wanted to hear the truth. No one wanted to hear that she was in constant pain, that she was exhausted beyond measure, that she was barely holding on. So she lied and smiled and pretended and suffered in silence. By the 7th year, James asked for a divorce. "I can't do this anymore," he said. "I've tried, I really have, but I can't live like this. I can't be married to someone who's always sick. I need a partner, not a patient." Ariana didn't fight it. What could she say? She understood. She was exhausted too. Exhausted from being sick, exhausted from being a burden, exhausted from disappointing everyone around her. The divorce was quick and quiet. James moved out. Ariana stayed in the house, though she could barely afford it. She took on freelance graphic design work when she felt well enough, which wasn't often. She lived on disability payments and the charity of family members who felt obligated to help but clearly wished they didn't have to. She was 33 years old, divorced, chronically ill, broke, alone. This wasn't how her life was supposed to turn out. By the 10th year, Ariana had stopped going to church. She couldn't handle it anymore. Couldn't handle the well-meaning people who told her that if she just had more faith, God would heal her. Couldn't handle the prayer circles where people laid hands on her and declared her healed, only for nothing to change. Couldn't handle the looks of pity mixed with judgment. She had prayed for healing. Oh, how she had prayed. She had begged God, pleaded with him, cried out to him in desperation. She had fasted. She had anointed herself with oil. She had claimed healing scriptures. She had done everything she knew to do, and nothing had changed. So she stopped praying, stopped believing, stopped hoping, because hope was too painful. Hope meant disappointment, and she couldn't handle any more disappointment. God had abandoned her, or maybe he had never been there at all. Maybe all those years of faith had been a lie. Maybe she was on her own. Maybe she had always been on her own. By the 12th year, Ariana had accepted her fate. This was her life. Chronic pain, constant bleeding, endless exhaustion, isolation, loneliness, suffering. She had given up on healing, given up on hope, given up on God. She existed, that was all. She got through each day, she survived, but she wasn't living. She was just enduring, until that day in the doctor's office. That day when Dr. Harrison told her the condition had progressed. That day when she sat in her car in the parking lot and felt the full weight of 12 years of suffering crash down on her. That day when she whispered a prayer she didn't really believe would be answered. God, how much longer? She drove home in a fog, went inside her small, quiet house, sat on the couch, stared at nothing. Her phone buzzed, a text from her sister. How did the appointment go? Ariana stared at the message. She didn't want to respond, didn't want to tell her sister that nothing had changed, that she was still sick, still suffering, still broken. But she also didn't want to lie anymore, didn't want to pretend, didn't want to keep up the facade. She typed back, "Not good, it's getting worse." Her sister's response came quickly, "I'm so sorry. Is there anything I can do?" Ariana almost laughed. What could anyone do? No one could fix this. No one could take away the pain. No one could give her back the 12 years she had lost. No, but thank you. She set the phone down and closed her eyes. She was so tired, so incredibly bone-deep tired. Not just physically, though the physical exhaustion was overwhelming, but emotionally, spiritually. She was tired of fighting, tired of hoping, tired of being disappointed. She thought about the woman in the Bible, the woman with the issue of blood. She had heard that story dozens of times over the years. People loved to tell her about that woman, as if it was supposed to be encouraging. She suffered for 12 years too, they would say. And then Jesus healed her. So don't give up hope. Your healing is coming. But Ariana's 12 years were up, and there was no Jesus walking through her town, no crowd she could push through to touch his garment, no miracle waiting for her. That story was 2,000 years old. Things like that didn't happen anymore. Miracles were for biblical times, not for now, not for her. She got up and went to her bedroom, opened the drawer of her nightstand, pulled out the Bible that had been sitting there untouched for over a year. She didn't know why she was doing this, didn't know what she hoped to find, but something compelled her to open it. She flipped through the pages randomly and landed on Mark chapter 5. Of course, the woman with the issue of blood. Ariana almost closed the Bible. She didn't want to read this story again, didn't want to be reminded of a miracle that would never happen for her, but something made her keep reading. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had, yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. Ariana stopped. Read it again. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had, yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. That was her story, exactly her story. 12 years, many doctors, spent all she had, grew worse. She kept reading. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Ariana felt tears welling up. If I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. That kind of faith, that kind of desperate, audacious faith. The woman had been suffering for 12 years, had spent everything, had tried everything, and yet she still believed, still hoped, still reached out. Ariana had given up, had stopped believing, had stopped hoping, had stopped reaching out. But what if she was wrong? What if there was still hope? What if God hadn't abandoned her? What if he had been there all along, waiting for her to reach out one more time? She read the next verse. Immediately her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. Immediately, instantly. After 12 years of suffering, she was healed in a moment. Ariana closed her eyes. God, I don't know if you're listening. I don't know if you care. I don't know if miracles still happen, but I'm desperate. I've tried everything else. I've spent everything. I've suffered for 12 years, and I can't do this anymore. So I'm asking you, one more time, please, please heal me. She didn't feel anything dramatic, no warm glow, no sudden relief from pain, no miraculous healing. But something shifted inside her, something small, something fragile, something that felt almost like hope. The next morning, Ariana woke up and made a decision. She was going to try one more time, one more doctor, one more treatment, one more attempt at healing. Not because she was confident it would work, but because she wasn't ready to give up completely. Not yet. She called the specialist Dr. Harrison had referred her to, made an appointment for the following week. In the meantime, she did something she hadn't done in over a year. She prayed. Not a desperate, begging prayer. Not a demanding prayer, just a simple, honest prayer. God, I don't understand why you've allowed me to suffer for so long. I don't understand why you haven't healed me, but I'm choosing to trust you anyway. I'm choosing to believe that you see me, that you know my pain, that you care. Help me, please. The appointment with the new specialist was different from all the others. Dr. Chen was a woman in her 50s, with kind eyes and a gentle manner. She listened, really listened. Didn't dismiss Ariana's symptoms, didn't tell her it was all in her head, didn't rush her through the appointment. I've reviewed all your medical records, Dr. Chen said, and I have some thoughts. I think the previous doctors may have been treating the symptoms without addressing the root cause. I'd like to run some different tests, look at this from a different angle. Ariana felt a flicker of hope, but she tamped it down. She had been hopeful before. It always led to disappointment. Okay, she said cautiously. The tests were extensive and expensive. Ariana had to borrow money from her parents to pay for them. She felt the familiar guilt and shame, still being a burden, still costing money, still not better. But she did the tests anyway. 2 weeks later, she sat in Dr. Chen's office, waiting for the results. Her hands were shaking, her heart was pounding. She didn't know if she could handle more bad news. Dr. Chen came in and sat down. "Ariana, I think I know what's been causing your symptoms." Ariana held her breath. "The tests show that you have a rare autoimmune condition. It's been attacking your reproductive system, causing the bleeding and pain. It's also been affecting your thyroid and adrenal glands, which explains the fatigue. An autoimmune condition. Rare, but diagnosable, treatable. Can you fix it?" Ariana whispered. "I can't cure it," Dr. Chen said honestly. "Autoimmune conditions are chronic. But I can treat it. I can manage the symptoms. I can give you your life back. Give you your life back." Ariana started crying. 12 years. 12 years of suffering. 12 years of not knowing what was wrong. 12 years of being told it was in her head, or that she just needed to try harder, or that she should just accept it. And finally, someone had an answer. Someone had a plan. Someone could help. "When can we start?" she asked. "Right away." Dr. Chen prescribed a combination of medications, immunosuppressants to calm the autoimmune response, hormone therapy to regulate the bleeding, supplements to support her thyroid and adrenal function. "It's going to take time," Dr. Chen warned. "This didn't develop overnight, and it won't be fixed overnight. You'll need to be patient, but I believe we can get you to a place where you're functional again, where you're not in constant pain, where you can live your life." Ariana started the treatment that day, and for the first time in 12 years, she felt hope. Real, genuine hope. The first few weeks were hard. The medications had side effects, nausea, headaches, dizziness. Ariana felt worse before she felt better, but Dr. Chen had warned her about this. "Your body is adjusting, give it time." So Ariana gave it time and prayed. Every day she prayed, not demanding prayers, not bargaining prayers, just prayers of trust. "God, I'm trusting you. I'm trusting that you see me, that you know what I need, that you're working even when I can't see it. Help me to be patient. Help me to have faith." After a month, she noticed a small change. The pain was slightly less intense, not gone, but manageable. After 2 months, the bleeding began to regulate. It was still heavier than normal, but it was predictable. She could plan her life around it. After 3 months, she had more energy. Not a lot, but enough to get through a full day without needing to rest. After 6 months, she felt like a different person. The pain was minimal. The bleeding was under control. She had energy. She could think clearly. She could function. She went back to Dr. Chen for a checkup. The doctor smiled when she saw her. "You look so much better. I feel so much better," Ariana said, tears in her eyes. "I can't thank you enough. You gave me my life back. You did the hard work," Dr. Chen said. "You didn't give up. You kept trying. You kept fighting." But Ariana knew the truth. It wasn't just the medication. It wasn't just the treatment. It was God. God had led her to Dr. Chen. God had given her the strength to try one more time. God had been there all along, even when she couldn't see him. As her physical health improved, Ariana began to work on her emotional and spiritual health. She started seeing a therapist to process the trauma of 12 years of chronic illness, the isolation, the abandonment, the loss. "You've been through something incredibly difficult," her therapist said. "It's okay to grieve, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to feel all the feelings." Ariana cried in therapy. A lot. She cried for the 12 years she had lost. She cried for the marriage that had ended. She cried for the friendships that had faded. She cried for the dreams that had died. But she also began to heal emotionally, spiritually. She started going back to church. Tentatively at first, sitting in the back, ready to leave if it became too much. But it wasn't too much. It was exactly what she needed. The worship songs made her cry, songs about God's faithfulness, about his presence in suffering, about his healing power. She had doubted all of those things, had stopped believing them, but now, on the other side of her suffering, she could see the truth. God had been faithful, even when she couldn't see it, even when she had given up on him. He had never given up on her. He had been present in her suffering. Every single day, every single moment, he had seen her pain, had counted her tears, had carried her when she couldn't walk on her own, and he had healed her. Not in the timing she wanted, not in the way she expected, but he had healed her. One Sunday, the pastor preached about the woman with the issue of blood. Ariana sat in her seat, tears streaming down her face as she heard the story with new ears. This woman had suffered for 12 years, the pastor said. She had spent everything she had on doctors who couldn't help her. She was isolated, considered unclean, untouchable. She had every reason to give up, but she didn't. She heard about Jesus, and she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. The pastor paused. That's faith. Not faith that everything will be easy. Not faith that suffering won't come. But faith that even in the suffering, even in the waiting, even in the darkness, Jesus is there, and he sees you, and he cares, and he will heal you, maybe not in the way you expect, maybe not in the timing you want, but he will heal you. Ariana knew that truth in her bones now. Jesus had healed her, not just physically, though that was part of it, but emotionally, spiritually. He had healed the parts of her that no doctor could reach, the broken places in her heart, the wounded places in her soul. After the service, Ariana approached the pastor. "Thank you for that sermon," she said. "I needed to hear it." "You're welcome," he said kindly. "Is there something you'd like to share?" And Ariana found herself telling her story, the 12 years of suffering, the doctors who couldn't help, the isolation and abandonment, the loss of faith, and then the healing, the diagnosis, the treatment, the restoration. The pastor listened with tears in his eyes. "Would you be willing to share this with the church?" he asked. "I think there are people who need to hear your story, people who are suffering in silence, people who have given up hope." Ariana hesitated. Sharing her story meant being vulnerable, meant admitting how much she had suffered, how much she had doubted, how close she had come to giving up completely. But she thought about all the years she had suffered alone, all the times she had wished someone understood, all the moments she had felt invisible. If her story could help even one person feel less alone, it would be worth it. "Yes," she said, "I'll share it." 2 weeks later, Ariana stood in front of the church and told her story. She talked about the 12 years of suffering, the pain that no one could see, the bleeding that no one understood, the exhaustion that no one believed. She talked about the doctors who couldn't help, the friends who abandoned her, the husband who left, the faith she lost. And then she talked about the healing, not just the physical healing, though that was miraculous, but the emotional and spiritual healing, the restoration of hope, the return of faith, the rediscovery of God's presence. "I thought God had abandoned me," she said, her voice breaking. "I thought he didn't care. I thought he had forgotten about me. But I was wrong. He was there all along. He saw every moment of my suffering. He counted every tear. He carried me when I couldn't walk, and when the time was right, he healed me." She held up her Bible and read from Mark chapter 5. Immediately her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. At once, Jesus realized that power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my clothes?" Ariana looked out at the congregation. Jesus knew. He knew someone had touched him. He knew someone needed healing, and he stopped. In the middle of a crowd, in the middle of going somewhere else, he stopped and looked for the person who had reached out to him. She paused, tears streaming down her face. That's what he does for us. When we reach out to him, even in our weakness, even in our doubt, even in our desperation, he stops. He sees us, he knows us, and he heals us. The church was silent. People were crying. Because so many of them were suffering too. So many of them had hidden pains, silent struggles, invisible illnesses. And Ariana's story gave them hope. Hope that they weren't alone. Hope that God saw them. Hope that healing was possible. After the service, dozens of people came up to her, sharing their own stories of suffering, of chronic illness, of pain that no one understood, of feeling abandoned and alone. Ariana listened to each one, prayed with them, encouraged them, reminded them that God saw them, that he cared, that he would heal them in his time and in his way. One woman, probably in her 40s, grabbed Ariana's hand and sobbed. "I've been sick for 8 years," she said. "I thought I was the only one. I thought no one understood. But hearing your story, I feel less alone. I feel like maybe there's hope for me too." Ariana hugged her tightly. "There is hope. I promise you there is hope. Don't give up. Keep reaching out to Jesus. He sees you. He knows your pain, and he will heal you." Over the next few months, Ariana started a support group at her church for people with chronic illnesses. They met every Tuesday evening. It started with just 5 people. Within 3 months, it had grown to over 20. Every week, they shared their struggles, their pain, their frustrations, their fears. And every week, Ariana reminded them of the truth. You are not alone. God sees you. Your pain matters. Your suffering is not invisible to him, and he will heal you. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but he will heal you. They prayed for each other, encouraged each other, supported each other, and slowly, gradually, healing began to happen. Not just physical healing, though some experienced that, but emotional and spiritual healing. The healing that comes from knowing you're not alone, from knowing you're seen, from knowing you matter. Ariana also started speaking at other churches, sharing her testimony, teaching about chronic illness from a Christian perspective, helping people understand that suffering doesn't mean God has abandoned you, that pain doesn't mean you lack faith, that sometimes healing takes time. We live in a culture that wants instant results, she would say, instant healing, instant answers, instant solutions. But sometimes God's healing is a process. Sometimes it takes time. Sometimes we have to wait, and that's okay, because God is doing something in the waiting. He's building our faith. He's deepening our trust. He's healing not just our bodies, but our souls. 1 year after starting treatment with Dr. Chen, Ariana was living a completely different life. The pain was gone. The bleeding had stopped. She had energy. She was working full-time again as a graphic designer. She had reconnected with old friends and made new ones. She was thriving, but more than the physical changes, she had changed internally. She was stronger, more compassionate, more empathetic, more aware of the suffering around her. She had learned that there are pains that no one sees, hidden pains, silent pains, pains that people carry alone because they're afraid no one will understand. And she had made it her mission to see those people, to acknowledge their pain, to let them know they're not alone. She started a blog called Invisible Illness, Visible Hope. She wrote about her journey, about chronic illness, about faith in the midst of suffering, about finding hope when healing doesn't come quickly. The blog grew. Thousands of people read it, commented on it, shared their own stories, found community and support. Ariana received emails from people all over the world, people who were suffering in silence, people who felt alone, people who had given up hope. And she responded to every single one, prayed for them, encouraged them, reminded them that God saw them, that their pain mattered, that healing was possible. 2 years after starting treatment, Ariana wrote a book. She called it 12 Years, Finding God in Chronic Suffering. It was her story, but it was also a guide for others walking through chronic illness. She wrote about the physical aspects of chronic illness, the symptoms, the treatments, the medical system, but she also wrote about the emotional and spiritual aspects, the isolation, the grief, the loss of identity, the crisis of faith, and she wrote about the healing, not just physical healing, but holistic healing. Healing of body, mind, and spirit. The book was published by a Christian publisher. Ariana didn't expect much. Maybe a few hundred people would read it. Maybe it would help someone. But within 6 months, it had sold over 100,000 copies. She started getting invitations to speak at conferences, to appear on podcasts, to share her story on a larger platform. Everywhere she went, she shared the same message. There are pains that no one sees, but God sees them. He sees you. He knows your suffering. He counts your tears, and He will heal you. Maybe not in the way you expect, maybe not in the timing you want, but He will heal you. 3 years after starting treatment, Ariana received a letter that made her cry. It was from a woman named Rebecca. Dear Ariana, I'm writing to thank you. 3 years ago, I was in the darkest place of my life. I had been suffering from chronic pain for 15 years. I had tried everything, spent everything, lost everything. I had given up on God, given up on healing, given up on life. I was planning to end it all. But then someone gave me your book. I read it in one sitting, and for the first time in 15 years, I felt hope. I felt seen. I felt like maybe, just maybe, there was a reason to keep going. I started going to doctors again. I found a specialist who actually listened. I got a diagnosis. I started treatment. And slowly, gradually, I began to heal, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. I'm not completely healed yet. I still have hard days, but I'm so much better than I was, and more importantly, I have hope. I have faith. I have a reason to keep going. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being brave enough to be vulnerable. Thank you for showing me that I'm not alone. Thank you for saving my life. With gratitude, Rebecca. Ariana read the letter over and over, tears streaming down her face. This was why. This was why she had suffered for 12 years. This was why God had allowed it. Not because He was cruel, not because He didn't care, but because He knew that her suffering would become someone else's hope, that her pain would become someone else's healing, that her story would save someone else's life. Her 12 years of suffering hadn't been wasted. They had been preparation. Preparation to help others who were walking through the same valley. Preparation to be a voice of hope in the darkness. Preparation to show others that God sees them, even when no one else does. 4 years after starting treatment, Ariana met someone. His name was David. He was a widower, a few years older than her. His wife had died of cancer 5 years earlier. He understood suffering. He understood loss. He understood pain. They met at a chronic illness support group. He had come to support a friend. She was leading the group. They started talking, then having coffee, then spending time together. David didn't run from Ariana's past, didn't shy away from her scars. He saw them and loved her anyway, not despite her suffering, but with full knowledge of it. You're one of the strongest people I've ever met, he told her one day. I don't feel strong, she said. I feel broken. Broken things that have been put back together are stronger than things that have never been broken, he said. You've been through fire, and you came out refined. That's strength. They dated for a year, slowly, carefully. Both of them had been hurt before. Both of them had learned to be cautious. But love grew, trust grew, hope grew. David proposed on the anniversary of the day Ariana had started treatment with Dr. Chen. 4 years ago, God gave you your life back, he said, and I want to spend the rest of that life with you. Ariana said yes, through tears of joy. They got married 6 months later. A small, intimate ceremony with close friends and family. It was nothing like Ariana's first wedding, That had been big and elaborate and full of naive hope. This wedding was different. It was grounded in reality, in the knowledge that life is hard, that suffering comes, that things don't always work out the way you plan. But it was also full of hope, real hope. Hope that had been tested and proven. Hope that had survived 12 years of suffering. Hope that was rooted not in circumstances but in the faithfulness of God. In her vows, Ariana said, "I've learned that life is fragile, that health is a gift, that tomorrow is not guaranteed. But I've also learned that God is faithful, that love is possible, that healing is real, and I choose to walk through the rest of my life with you, trusting that God will be with us, whatever comes." 5 years after starting treatment, Ariana stood in front of a crowd of over 3,000 people at a women's conference. She was one of the keynote speakers. She looked out at the sea of faces and felt a moment of overwhelming gratitude. 5 years ago, she had been broken, sick, alone, hopeless, and now here she was, healed, whole, married, hopeful, helping others. God had done this. God had taken her 12 years of suffering and turned them into purpose, had taken her pain and transformed it into ministry, had taken her brokenness and made it beautiful. She began to speak. 5 years ago, I was in the darkest place of my life. I'd been suffering from chronic illness for 12 years. I'd spent everything I had on doctors who couldn't help me. I'd lost my job, my marriage, my friends, my faith. I was alone, broken, hopeless. I had given up on healing, given up on God, given up on life. She paused, letting the weight of those words sink in. But God hadn't given up on me, even when I had given up on Him, even when I couldn't see Him, even when I didn't believe He was there. He was there. He saw me. He knew my pain. He counted my tears. And He was working, not in the way I expected, not in the timing I wanted, but He was working. She shared her story, the 12 years of suffering, the doctors who couldn't help, the isolation and abandonment, the loss of faith, and then the healing, the diagnosis, the treatment, the restoration, the redemption. I learned something through those 12 years, she said. I learned that there are pains that no one sees, hidden pains, silent pains. Pains that we carry alone because we're afraid no one will understand. But God sees those pains. He sees the suffering that no one else sees. He knows the struggles that we hide. And it's exactly those hidden pains that He chooses to heal first. She held up her Bible and read from Mark chapter 5. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had, yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. Ariana looked out at the crowd. That was me. 12 years, many doctors, spent all I had, grew worse. But that's not the end of the story. The woman heard about Jesus, and she reached out to Him in faith, in desperation, in hope, and Jesus healed her immediately. Completely. She paused. My healing wasn't immediate. It took time. It took treatment. It took patience. But it was just as miraculous, because God didn't just heal my body. He healed my soul. He healed my faith. He healed my hope. He healed the parts of me that no doctor could reach. She closed her Bible and looked out at the women in the audience. If you're suffering today, I want you to know something. You are not alone. God sees you. He sees your pain. He sees your suffering. He sees the struggles that no one else sees. And He cares. He cares so much. And He will heal you. Maybe not in the way you expect. Maybe not in the timing you want. But He will heal you. So don't give up. Keep reaching out to Him. Keep trusting Him. Keep believing that He is good, even when life is hard, because He is. He is good, He is faithful, and He will heal you. The conference center erupted in applause, but more than that, there were tears, so many tears, because so many of those women were suffering too. So many of them had hidden pains, silent struggles, invisible illnesses. And Ariana's story gave them hope. Hope that they weren't alone, hope that God saw them, hope that healing was possible. After her talk, hundreds of women lined up to speak with her, to share their stories, to ask for prayer, to thank her for being vulnerable. Ariana listened to each one, prayed with them, encouraged them, reminded them that God saw them, that their pain mattered, that healing would come. One young woman, probably in her early 20s, approached with tears streaming down her face. "I've been sick for 3 years," she said. "I'm so tired, so discouraged. I was starting to think God didn't care, but hearing your story, I have hope again. Thank you." Ariana hugged her tightly. "Don't give up," she whispered. "Your healing is coming. I don't know when, I don't know how, but it's coming. Keep reaching out to Jesus. He sees you, He knows your pain, and He will heal you." 6 years after starting treatment, Ariana was asked to speak at a medical conference, not a Christian conference, a secular medical conference for doctors who specialized in chronic illness. She was nervous. This was different from speaking at churches or Christian conferences. These were medical professionals, scientists, people who dealt in facts and evidence, not faith and miracles. But she accepted the invitation because she believed that doctors needed to hear her story too, needed to understand what it was like to be a patient with chronic illness, needed to see the human side of the conditions they treated. She stood in front of a room full of doctors and shared her story, not the spiritual parts, not the faith parts, just the medical journey. The 12 years of suffering, the misdiagnoses, the treatments that didn't work, the financial burden, the emotional toll. And then she talked about Dr. Chen, about finding a doctor who listened, who believed her, who looked beyond the obvious, who found the root cause, who gave her life back. "As doctors, you have incredible power," she said. "The power to heal, but also the power to harm. When you dismiss a patient's symptoms, when you tell them it's all in their head, when you give up on them, you harm them, you add to their suffering." She paused, looking around the room. "But when you listen, when you believe, when you keep searching for answers, when you treat your patients as whole people, not just collections of symptoms, you have the power to change lives, to give hope, to heal not just bodies but souls." The room was silent. Some doctors looked uncomfortable. Others looked thoughtful. A few had tears in their eyes. After her talk, several doctors approached her. "Thank you for sharing that," one said. "I needed to hear it. I've been treating chronic illness patients for years, but I've never really understood what they go through. Your story opened my eyes." Another doctor, an older woman, grabbed Ariana's hand. "I was like Dr. Chen once," she said. "I took the time to listen, to really see my patients. But over the years I got jaded, burned out. I started rushing through appointments, dismissing symptoms. I forgot why I became a doctor in the first place. Your story reminded me. Thank you." Ariana felt tears in her eyes. Her suffering was reaching people she never expected. Doctors, medical professionals, people who could use what they learned from her story to help other patients. Her pain was being multiplied into purpose in ways she couldn't have imagined. 7 years after starting treatment, Ariana and David had a baby, a daughter. They named her Grace. Ariana had never thought she would be able to have children. The years of illness had damaged her reproductive system. The doctors had told her pregnancy would be difficult, if not impossible. But God had other plans. The pregnancy was hard. Ariana had to be monitored closely, had to continue her medications carefully, had to rest more than she wanted to, but she made it through. And when Grace was born, healthy and perfect, Ariana wept. "She's a miracle," the nurse said, handing the baby to Ariana. "She is," Ariana agreed. "She really is." As she held her daughter, Ariana thought about the woman with the issue of blood, the woman who had suffered for 12 years. the woman who had reached out to Jesus in faith. The Bible said that after Jesus healed her, he called her daughter. Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering. Daughter, not just healed, but claimed, loved, valued. That's what God had done for Ariana too. He hadn't just healed her body. He had claimed her as his daughter, had loved her through the suffering, had valued her enough to walk with her through 12 years of pain. And now, holding her own daughter, Ariana understood God's love in a new way. The fierce, protective, unconditional love of a parent for a child. That's how God loved her, how he had always loved her, even when she couldn't see it, even when she doubted, even when she gave up. He had never given up on her. 8 years after starting treatment, Ariana received an award from a chronic illness advocacy organization. The award was for her work in raising awareness about invisible illnesses and supporting patients with chronic conditions. She stood on the stage, holding the award, looking out at the audience of patients, caregivers, doctors, and advocates. 8 years ago, she said, I was sitting in a doctor's office, being told that my condition had progressed, that there might not be a cure, that I might have to live with this pain forever. I went home that day and gave up on healing, gave up on hope, gave up on God. She paused, but God hadn't given up on me. He led me to the right doctor. He gave me the right treatment. He healed me, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. And then he gave me a purpose, to use my suffering to help others, to be a voice for those who suffer in silence, to advocate for better care, better understanding, better support for people with chronic illness. She held up the award. This award isn't really for me. It's for every person who has suffered in silence, every person who has been dismissed by doctors, every person who has been abandoned by friends and family, every person who has felt invisible. This is for you. Your pain matters. Your suffering is real, and you are not alone. The audience stood and applauded. Many were crying because they knew what it was like to suffer in silence, to feel invisible, to be dismissed and abandoned. And Ariana's words, her story, her advocacy made them feel seen, valued, heard. 10 years after starting treatment, Ariana sat down to write in her journal. It was something she did every year on the anniversary of that day in Dr. Harrison's office. The day she had been told the condition had progressed, the day she had given up hope. She wrote, 10 years ago today, I thought my life was over. I thought I would suffer forever. I thought God had abandoned me. I was wrong. God was there all along. He saw every moment of my suffering. He counted every tear. He carried me when I couldn't walk. And when the time was right, he healed me, not just my body, but my soul. He took 12 years of suffering and turned them into purpose. He took my pain and transformed it into ministry. He took my brokenness and made it beautiful. I've learned so much through this journey. I've learned that there are pains that no one sees, hidden pains, silent pains, pains that we carry alone, but God sees them. He sees every hidden pain, every silent struggle, every invisible illness. And it's exactly those hidden pains that he chooses to heal first. Not always physically, though sometimes that too, but always spiritually, always emotionally. He heals the parts of us that no one else can see, the broken places in our hearts, the wounded places in our souls. I've also learned that healing doesn't always come quickly. Sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it's a process. Sometimes we have to wait, and that's okay, because God is doing something in the waiting. He's building our faith. He's deepening our trust. He's preparing us for the purpose he has for us. My 12 years of suffering weren't wasted. They were preparation to help others who are walking through the same valley, preparation to be a voice of hope in the darkness, preparation to show others that God sees them even when no one else does. I'm grateful for those 12 years now. I wouldn't choose to go through them again, but I'm grateful for what they taught me, for how they shaped me, for the purpose they gave me. Because of those 12 years, I can look someone in the eye who is suffering and say, I know, I understand, I've been there, and there is hope. God sees you, He knows your pain, and He will heal you. That's worth it. All the suffering, all the pain, all the struggle. It's worth it if it helps even one person find hope, if it helps even one person feel less alone, if it helps even one person keep reaching out to God. So thank you, God, for those 12 years. Thank you for not healing me quickly. Thank you for the process. Thank you for the purpose. Thank you for seeing my hidden pain. And thank you for healing me, not just my body, but my soul. She closed the journal and looked out the window. Grace was playing in the backyard, chasing butterflies. David was grilling dinner. It was a perfect, ordinary, beautiful moment. This was her life now, healed, whole, full of purpose and joy and hope, but she never forgot where she came from, never forgot the 12 years of suffering, never forgot the pain that no one could see, because those 12 years had made her who she was, had given her the compassion to see others' hidden pains, had given her the courage to speak up for those who suffer in silence, had given her the faith to believe that God sees, God knows, and God heals. There are pains that no one sees, but God sees them all, and it's exactly those hidden pains that He chooses to heal first. Not always in the way we expect, not always in the timing we want, but always in the way that brings the most healing, the most hope, the most purpose, always.